YouTube, what's cracking, man? Alright, so I'm out in this garage again. Been doing a lot of brainstorming. I've never in my life done anything like what I'm doing, okay, to this car. I ain't trying to pay somebody because I've already got enough money out. I'm hurting, okay, for money. So I don't really want to pay anybody to do my engine location. I want to get it right. So is what I got going on is I got to get the rear end in the car straight, because of course if you want your motor to be going in the right damn direction, if you're positioning your engine off of the rear end, always looking over here. I should be looking over here. But if you're putting the engine in the car and you're going off the rear end, you want the rear end to be straight. So you got to get the rear end straight in the car before you proceed further. With that being, you know what I mean? So here's how this works. I got some tools, some stuff you're gonna need, some stuff you're not gonna want to use, all this stuff. So that's what you don't want. You do not want this, okay? You don't want this. I know this tells you degrees and all that and blah, blah, blah. You don't want this. Get rid of this. If this is what you're using, get rid of it. You want something like that up there, which we'll talk about. All right, so things you're gonna need. You need a couple C-clamps. You're gonna need 2 perfectly straight. And when I say perfectly straight, you do not need this lying to you. Okay, Tim McCamus sells these. They are a good sharp edge. They have a good sharp edge to measure off of, in other words. So like if we're pulling here, you're gonna get a good accurate measurement to your tape measure. You're gonna have a good point that's pointing at it. That's what you want. You want a nice smaller tape measure. You don't need nothing crazily big. Okay, you're only doing, you're measuring about 1 foot, maybe 2-3 foot at most. So you just need something that's sturdy, that'll support itself, but good tape measure. Okay. You need some plumb bobs. If you don't know what a plumb bob is, that's a plumb bob. String comes directly out the center of it. Okay, and it's used in a lot of things for finding center. Whenever you're like referencing to something. Hang on, I'm gonna get that back on there. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so all these things here got something to do with lining this rear end up, okay? You're probably gonna need a level too. You can use that, but I'm just using a level. So here's what you wanna do. Make sure your car's level. Do not make the mistake of doing any of this off the ground. You have no idea what that ground's doing. If it's not level, it's not level, and it sets you all off. Screws everything up. Best way to do it is to get your car sitting on jack stands level. Whatever you have to do to make them level. If you notice, I had to add a piece of wood and a little bit of a strap. I cut some strap off of a tie, or not a damn tie, rat strap. Cut some of the strap off, the thick strap, and laid that in there, and that got my bubble perfect. All right, so my car frame rails, my car is sitting level, okay, side to side. All right, because that's all that we're trying to do with this rear end, is get it level with the rear cross member. Okay. When you have established that your rear cross member is level and your car's sitting level here, not front to back, not necessarily have to be, just side to side, because that's what we want. We want this rear end to be level with the car, side to side, front to back, left to right, okay? So what we're going to start with is leveling the chassis and then leveling the rear end, okay? Which is done by turning on a set of ladder bars. Hopefully you have a set of turnbuckles. When you turn one, it will raise or lower your rear end housing. Okay, you tighten it up, it's gonna raise it. You loosen it up, it's gonna lower it. Okay, or vice versa. However it's installed into your car. You want to make sure that this housing, left to right, is level in the car. Okay, with that. So if this is level, that's level. Then we can move on to the next deal. Now we want to make sure, after that's level, we want to make sure that we're front to back. In other words, this housing in this wheel well is center. Okay, we don't want it too close to the front. We don't want it too far to the back. Ooh, sorry about that. We don't want it too far to the back. We want this nice and center. The way we're going to do that is we're going to pull a measurement. Sorry, man. You really need 3 hands or a camera gal. My camera gal's at work, so you're going to measure frame rail, see, to your plumb bob. Okay. Now my rear end is low in the car. Let me jack that up. All right, I got it up. I got it up in the air a little bit. Is what you want to do is bring that rear end up to where it just starts to pull the weight off this, and then go ahead and set it back down onto it. So, because you want that to be level, okay? You don't want to jack it up and pull this off your jack stands, and now your car is not level. Oh, sorry, lucky. So with the car level, cross members level, rear ends level, we're going to move to this next deal. We need to make sure that from there to my plumb bob, my line, see how that's working? I got a good straight line to go off of. We want to take that measurement, go to the other side. We want them to be the exact same, okay? If it is not the exact same, then you need pull one of them heim joints and do a half a turn. I mean, if it, relative to which way you need to go. So half a turn if you need to go back, half turn if you need to go front, blah, 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 blah. Make that move to where this is level, or this is the same measurement as the other side. So I believe I'm achieving, where am I at? I'm at 15. I'm at 15 3/4. So if I'm 15 3/4 here, I want to be 15 3/4 on my passenger side. So now we've achieved 2 things. We've got it level in the car. We've got it perfectly square with the car, okay? Our next move is going to be making sure that the rear end is center of the car, okay? We got it level to the car, square with the car. Now we want to make sure that it is side to side level, or not level, equal distance side to side. And that's what these sticks are for. So what you're going to do is you're going to go off your frame rail, and I recommend, this will turn. You can turn that down as close as you want, but you need to get as close to that frame rail as possible. You want to make sure that you're getting something that's good and straight, and I think that the closer you are to the connecting point of the rear end is going to be your straightest point. So you measure over, and this bar is going to tell you, okay, I'm 8 1/4. If you're not 8 1/4 on the other side, per se, you're 7 1/2. All right, that means you are a 1/4 inch out of center. Now you're a 1/2 inch difference, right? But if you went a 1/2 inch, then you're just going to be a 1/4 inch big on the other side. So what you got to do is you got to just move the rear end to the passenger side 1/4 inch. Okay, so you get these 2 center. Get them bars center. You got, as you can see, I got one on the other side over there. If you can see it over there, there it is. You want these bars to measure the exact same. Okay, now you really need to do that in the order that I tell you. And the reason being is, for say we started by trying to do this first. If this rear end is not level, okay, then that means, so if this rear end is not level in the car, and it's lower on the driver's side than it is on the passenger side, and we're not level with the frame, then this flange right here is not true 90 degrees, okay? you want 90 degrees on this flange relative to the frame rail, not to the ground, because we're not using the ground because our garage floors are cracked and not level. Okay, so you get the car level and everything comes off the car. Okay, so if it wasn't level and this flange isn't exactly 90 degrees, right, then your measurement at the end is going to be off, because you're not, if you're not level, then if this isn't level in the car, then your flange is going to be hanging down and it's going to make this stick out further. In other words, you're not going to have accurate shit. So in the order that I told you, level the rear end, measure from front, from cross member to the string, then go to this, okay? Then go back and double check everything. Make sure your rear end's straight, make sure your rear end's still level, make sure your measurements here are still the same, and then go back and check this. And if everything is still the same, then you're 100% square in the car, okay? We're not messing with pinion angle, we're not messing with preload, and we're not messing with rear steer, okay? Look, if you are under 1,000 horsepower, you're not going to need rear steer. Put the rear end straight in the car. You're getting over 1,000 horsepower, you're going to start needing some rear steer, like maybe a 16th or an 1/8. You're getting into 2,000-3,000 horsepower, you might need a 1/4 of an inch at the most. But like rear steers for high, super powerful cars, okay? If you're a bracket car and you're not achieving stupid power, you're just going roughly, we'll say 6 to 1,000. You're probably not going to need much rear steer. You probably will need some preload, okay? Because like I say, the natural movement of the car is going to want to plant your passenger side tire harder than the driver's side tire. So your car should naturally, if it was completely zeroed out, you had no preload in it and everything was even, you're probably going to go to the line, and your car is probably going to go to the left a little bit, which is good, because that means that everything in your car is right. Okay, as crazy as that sounds, because all you're going to have to do is come back, make a pass, because this is going to be like your first time out track. You make a pass, car goes a little to the left. Everything else was good, the car's going to the left a little bit. Here's how you're going to straighten that out. You're going to come over here to this one turnbuckle. Okay, a lot of people will tell you that ladder bars do not put preload in a car, that you're going to have a 4-link. That is absolutely not true, okay? You can put preload into a car with a set of ladder bars. Only thing is, you got to have turnbuckles. If you've got a set of wheelie bars that has got, or not wheelie bars, ladder bars that are like solid mounted, like this one down here and this one down here, you won't achieve it, because, for instance, what's going to happen is if you move this forward and that hole's low, you won't get your bolt back in. Okay, so this is all got to put in to where you can get the bolts and you can move this wherever you want. You can put preload into a ladder bar as long as it's got turnbuckles. So, car's going left, you're going to want to start with a flat. And what I mean by flat, like, we'll just use a jam nut as for example. If that's where you're at, you're going to want to go one flat, bam, of preload. You're going to want this to go down. You want your rear end to move down. If you're going left, you want this rear end to go down. Now, if you're moving right, you want the rear end to go up. You're taking weight off the slick by going up, and you're putting more weight on the, wait a minute. No, I said that backwards, and I'm totally sorry. I screwed up. Let me start over. I screwed up. So if your car is going left, that means this rear is planting too hard. So you're going to want to put some negative preload in it. All right, you're going to, not negative preload, you're going to take preload out. So you're going to want to raise this up flat. You want to bring this rear end up a flat. All right, which isn't going to look like a whole lot, but if you're on scales, you're going to notice that weight moves in the car. Okay, that you just become light on this side and you're heavy on that side. You see what I'm saying? So regardless, this is what's going to make your car go straight. This top passenger bar. You want to always go to this bar. Never go to any other bar. Don't get yourself into a habit of using both of them. Okay, you don't want to do that. Go to the passenger side, preload in and out right here. Okay, so car's going left, you're going to take some preload out. Car's going right, you're going to put some preload in. All right, So that's how you're going to do preload. But again, that ain't going to be until you get to the track, car's full, and you know what the car's going to do. Car's getting no bite. You seem to be breaking the slicks loose. Your slicks are just, you get up, you take off, and the fucking thing unloads. You know what I'm saying? You got a couple of things that could be happening. Your shocks could be a little too loose, and it's not holding that to the track. Might want to tighten up your rebound a little bit so you hold that tire to the track a little harder. If that doesn't do it, you're gonna have to move to your ladder bars. That's what those holes are for. Down is gonna give you more bite. Up is gonna give you less bite. So if you're taking off and you're smashing the slick and you're just clamming that slick up and you get a little bit of tire chatter, you're too much bite, you're too far down. You need to move up a hole. Try it again. After you've moved up a hole, you're gonna have to readjust your pinion angle. Everything else should be fine, but you're gonna have to readjust your pinion angle. All right, keep that in mind. You go up, you got to come down on your pinion. Okay, so if you go down, you're moving your pinion angle up. If you go up, you're moving your pinion angle down, because it's got to stay the same. Okay. That's a little deal on that. Okay, so too much bite, you can take it out. Not enough bite, you can put it in. These things are almost as good as 4 links, okay? I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh bullshit, oh bullshit. If you're a fucking suspension guru and you know every goddamn thing there is, right, about suspension, then all right. You'd be able to make a 4 link do shit that a ladder bar couldn't possibly dream of doing, right? But an average Joe like myself, like a lot of other drag racers that don't know much about it, and believe you me, there is a lot of drag racers with really nice cars that don't know their ass from a hole in the fucking ground. All they know how to do is let go of the button and drive down the fucking track, okay? So they buy tried and tested. They buy a tested and tried car, tried and true. The motherfucker works. They know it works. They seen it go down the track. They buy it, and then they just jump in and drive it, okay? That's simple shit. Well, if you built your car or it has just come from a builder and it isn't set up, boy, you're going to be all over the goddamn thing. You know what I mean? You're going to have to completely 100% set this car up. So those are just some tips on that. But anyway, it's just kind of how the rear end works in these things. I've also added, which is not in here right now because I just don't want the shit in the way, but I've got a sway bar that I haven't yet. I got to still cut to length my arms that come down from it and weld in the bungs. But I put actual Heims in this, and I had to add a sway bar or an anti-roll bar, not a sway bar, an anti-roll bar. Sway bars are for in the front, anti-roll bars are in the back. So get that, you get that in there, whatever. That's highly recommended, okay? Highly recommended. A lot of guys say that combined with the set of ladder bars is awesome. You're getting close to a 4 link, a little bit more to a 4 link, because you can add in preload too with that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my preload off of that and then just keep my sway, my anti-roll bar neutral. Okay, so you should be able to clack both those whenever it's sitting on the ground. They shouldn't be bound up. When it's sitting flat on flat concrete, that sucker you should do what's called clacking. In other words, like move the bar and both of them are just click, click, click. They're real loose. There's no tension or force in between it, being exerted through the pipe. So, reason that you need to line that up is because then that gives you a true measurement of here. Now, the way I'm going to do it is to achieve this angle, okay, because my rear end's set, right? To achieve this angle, we need to go to the front of the car with our handy dandy new angle dig. And we'll just say, for shits and gigs, that pipe is perfectly in the center of that pinion yoke, okay? like we're perfect. All right, well, what's the degree of our engine? We're gonna go up here and we're gonna find out the degree of our engine, which is 2.6 because it's on jack stands. Okay, that is not the right degree. Okay, it's actually about a half a degree, but the car's jacked up in the back. So with the car at ride height, okay, you're gonna find out what your degree of your engine is, and we'll say it's a half a degree. We're gonna take our little handy dandy gauge and we're gonna go back to the pinion again. We're gonna stick this, which I don't have yet, a perfectly machined yoke back there. I don't have a good pinion yoke. That's just a stock POS, so it's not machined to be straight. I've ordered a machined straight pinion, okay, from Strange. I'll be able to put this on the top of the pinion yoke and it will tell me the degree of my pinion, okay. I want my pinion to be at the exact same degree as my motor. So if my motor is per se 3 degrees negative, or half a degree negative to the back, I want that to be raising up a half a degree. So you're going to start to be messing around here a little bit. For instance, you get this moved up. Now, if you have to move that, now your pinion's not lined up. So you're going to have to go back up there, move that up a little bit, move this up a little bit, move that back, forth, till it's perfect. Okay, you're going to have to tinker. In other words, you're going to be up a little bit, maybe down a little bit. You know, you're going to move it around till you get a perfect. That's dead center of the pinion, and the pinion's at the exact same angle as the engine block. All right, so now you have created a perfectly straight line all the way through the pinion yoke from the beginning of the crank. So from the front of the crank all the way to the back of that pinion is a perfectly straight line. So that is when you can put pinion angle in it, because if you put 2 degrees or a degree of pinion angle in the back, it's going to translate to the exact same pinion angle at your slip yoke. That's how you make that work. Okay, so whatever you do here happens there equally. If you do not get this aligned perfectly, then when you put a degree or 2 in the back of here, you're going to end up with like 3 or 4. It's not going to match. You don't want that. You want this to match the slip yoke going into the training. And that's how that works. So, I got something holding me back. And here's what I got holding me back. Is I've got a stock training. I'm not for sure if the mounting locations are identical. All right, I've called around these guys at these transmission places. The nicest one that I've met so far is Reed Transmissions. I've even offered to send me a junk case that they had laying around that was broke for $100. So if anybody needs one and wants to get a junk case for $100 just to use as a mock-up around their shop, Reed's got a couple of them. They'll send you one for $100. They're basically asking you to pay for the shipping and then giving it to you. But I didn't want to do that because I'm just going to go ahead and get the damn transmission I'm going to use. I'm gonna buy the transmission that I'm using. It's like fucking $4,000. Brand new one-piece SFI certified training. Highly recommend that too, because you don't have to have all the baloney around it, all the blankets and the shields and the da-da-da-da-da and the scatter shield for the flywheel. You gotta. Okay, so you buy a transmission, put it in, and it's safe. Okay, especially as close as I'm riding to this transmission and this drive shaft, I need this shit to be lock and key. So I'm also going to put a drive shaft enclosure tube in it. It's going to run, it's just going to be a 12-incher, but it's going to completely go from the tail of the transmission all the way back. That way, if anything happens, I'm already missing one tooth. I don't want to be missing an arm or a leg, because then I'll really be looking screwed up. So think about that. You know, you cut corners through these cars. Make sure that the corners you're cutting ain't gonna cut something off of you. All right, if you follow what I'm saying. So I need to. I'm not a rich man. I gotta get a loan. Unfortunately, I gotta have to go talk to the to the banker and see if he'll loan me $4,000. I'm gonna get $4,500 so that I can get a transmission and a drive shaft done. Get the transmission bought, put in, mounted, measure, get the drive shaft on the way. And like I say, I probably may have said this in my last video, but I got a 2.5 inch. All right, hang on, I just pulled it out. So here's what I got. Original transmission, all right, or not transmission, drive shaft. This little son of a bitch. The little bittiest drive shaft I've ever seen in my life. But you need to know something about that too, okay? So it's 3 foot with the slip yoke. The longer your transmission, or the longer your drive shaft, the longer your rear end from your transmission, the less movement you're going to have up. You know, you're always going to have less movement up front, but you're going to end up with more movement up in the car, okay? So I believe that I'm going to have my enclosure tube do like a 6-inch circle around here, but it's going to baffle open and kind of go to like a 9-inch opening at the back so that it allows this thing to move, because the shorter the drive shaft, it's going to move a lot relative to your drive shaft loops. If you've got a long extension, you're going to end up with movement at the rear, but it's not going to be so much at the front. This is a lot of movement in a short area, so I'm going to probably need about 9-inch opening here at the back to mount that up. So anyways, long story short, wanted to show you what was in it, and it's got 1310 drive U-joints in it. These are the littlest U-joints made, all right, a 1310. You can't get nothing smaller than that. It's almost crazy that this was in the car, okay? My stepdad's lucky to be alive. This fucking thing was built like shit. But that's only a 2.5-inch drive shaft, so I'm going to get a 3-inch drive shaft with 1350 U-joints in it, which aren't the big 1410s, but like I say, I ain't got much room. I need a little bit of room, so I think 1350s are going to be just fine. And get me a strange slip yoke and a strange pinion yoke. Nice, strong shit. And then my drivetrain is done. Well, no, I take that back. The rear end is done. I've got the rear end all done. Gears are good. Everything's good on it. It's all welded up. Brakes, yada yada yada. Vented. It's even got oil in it. The one thing that what the hell was I getting ready to say? The one thing that I got to do is these bolts. As you can see, I've got bolts, and those are just farm and home tractor bolts, okay? And when I started this deal, like again, I didn't really know my ass from a hole in the ground. I started out as a roofer on this car, and damn near a race car builder. I mean, I know so much about it. I just wish that I could have more experience doing it, but I know a hell of a lot about it. I've learned so much. I've literally done everything on this car, so I mean, I've learned a lot, and I'm glad for it, because had there not been YouTube and ways to get this information, Dennis Shaw and some other guys, I'd be in a world of hurt. But learned quite a bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of those grade 8 bolts, and I'm going to put NAS bolts in them, okay, or AN bolts, but I'm going to use NAS. But the shoulder length, if you don't know about this, I want to show you something. This here is a 5/8 grade 8 bolt. Your shoulder length is what supports the load, okay? Not the threads. So for instance, where this is going out of my rear end, we'll set that up there. One side's got the shoulder. It's going to fit nice and tight, which these shoulders aren't even actually a true shoulder size. They're like bullshit. They're not exactly right. So one side's going to have this pushing against it, and the other one's going to have these threads just beating that hole out. No matter how tight you get them, it's going to happen. And it just beats this metal bracket, okay, that is literally welded into your fucking frame, welded into your rear end or your frame. You know, you're going to have those there or these getting just beat to hell by these threads. You don't want that. So an NAS bolt is what it does is you take the measurement of from the outside to the outside, and you get a bolt with an actual shoulder that goes all the way to the other side and comes out, and you put a washer on that. You put a washer on the back side, and now you got contacting both sides. Okay, it keeps everything nice and tight, and it doesn't prematurely wear out your brackets. Your brackets are going to get worn out. I mean, years and years of hits after hits after hits, you're going to waller a hole out. Well, you don't want it to be in the first 3 weeks of racing your car. You know what I mean? So we're talking a couple of years, or maybe more, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years of racing compared to 3 weekends at the track of beating a hole out. You know, them threads will do straight damage to the other, whatever side the threads are touching. So I'm going to buy NAS bolts for here and for that. Now I upgraded these, okay? Those are, which I didn't upgrade that. It was actually the size of it. And I got lucky. But those are 5/8. Or wait a minute, no. Those are 3/4. Yeah, those are 3/4 bolts in Heims, and these are 5/8, okay? At the housing. So believe it or not, those 4, 5, 6 bolts on your seats, those 6 bolts are $250 just for 6 bolts. All right, but again, it is the strongest bolt that is possibly made. They have a way better tensile strength. It's made for what we need it to do, okay? Again, safety is of the essence. You don't want shit, like for instance, you don't want your rear end to move once it's in here. Those bolts are what you need. So if you're not running an NAS or a AN bolt, I think they're AN bolts. It might be Aircraft Navy, and then NASA Air something. Anyway, long story short, NAS and AN bolts are your best bet. Those are what you're wanting to go with because you can get the shoulder length the right size. And believe it or not, the thread length on them is really small. You know, like you can get a long shoulder length with a really short thread length. I think I've got some in this box. I might. No, I don't. I don't think I got any out here. I don't. But I do have some NAS bolts. These are just because they're gold or grade A doesn't mean shit. All right, that's my parachute bolt. But long story short, you want to make sure that you're putting the right damn hardware in the damn rear end, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, I've learned a lot of this shit from Tim McAmis, which that man releasing what he knows onto the internet is almost a fucking absurd. I've thought about doing the same thing for roofing, but I don't want people to know what I know, because then their roofs are as good as mine, and I don't want that, okay? I feel that I've got an edge on roofing. I do shit that nobody else does. I've hired 1 million roofers from around the country, not around the country, but around my area here. Every one of them comes to me a fucking retard. So I don't want to put what I know on the internet. So I'm glad that he did, and some others as well. There's a guy named Kevin Wilson, okay? You might, like I say, don't judge a book by its cover. This guy may come off to you like he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. The man knows what the fuck he's talking about, okay? Kevin Wilson on YouTube is definitely somebody If you need to learn some things, he'll give you a good understanding, okay? And you can take it from there and do what you do. But other than that, that's what my plans are. So got to get transmission, and I can get this motor in this car mounted. I don't know if that's going to be before Dennis takes the car to do the front end or after, but it doesn't matter. Either way, I can get that transmission mounted. Just got to see how fast I can get the money and get the training here. Got everything else, though. So, other than that, guys, man, I'm 35 minutes into a video here that's just crazy. I hope what I've explained here, I'm trying to put this shit in layman's terms, you know. If it's easy for me to comprehend, it should be easy for you to comprehend. So, other than that, man, that's all I got. Like I always say, love your neighbor, man. Give them a hand, even if they're a Democrat. Okay, we gotta try and get this division the hell out of our country, man. We were past this shit. We were to the point of Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, some amazing comics, okay, who really, in my opinion, helped break that racial barrier. I mean, if it wasn't for Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, we need it back. We need them back, okay? We need to be able to have that kind of... Racism doesn't need to be so serious. They make it serious so that we fight and hate each other, and just it's always a racial dispute. And it's even, racism has even gone as far as Democrat to Republican. We're so fucking divided. We feel like we're smarter than the other guy. You know what I mean? We're all on the same team. White, black, red, purple. Doesn't matter. We're all on the same team. And if we're not a team together, then our government divides us. And what do they say? A government that is divided will not stand. Okay? And this ain't gonna stand much longer. Shit's getting like really bad. Okay? So we need to bring common sense, common ground back to America. Just because a person's a Democrat doesn't mean that they're fucking retarded. Just means that they need to open their ears. I don't know. Long story short, love your neighbor, love your friends, love your family. One life. We got a whole maximum about 65 to 70 years on this earth. Do as much as you can. Fish, ride bikes, drag race cars, play with your kids. Do not absorb yourself so much in work that you don't enjoy life. Okay, so yeah, because I really feel like that's what they do. They make us work 60 hours a week to barely make it, and then while you're at work for 60 hours, you don't get to see your family. You don't get to love the people you love. You're with people that you really don't want to be around. A bunch of people who's just bitching about being at work. Sucks. Let's try and make this country good again. Let's bring back the Eddie Murphys, the Richard Pryors. Okay? We need them. But anyway, guys. Peace, chick grease.